Sergeant Aaron Cole had been given many orders in his life, but this one felt different the moment he read it. Protect the alien prisoner. No questions. No interaction. That was all the file said. No explanation. No history. No reason why the entire underground base had gone silent when the prisoner arrived. Even the air felt heavy, as if the walls themselves were listening. Aaron adjusted his uniform as he walked down the long metal corridor. The lights above flickered softly. His boots echoed against the floor, each step slow and careful. He had fought pirates in orbit, guarded diplomats who hated him, and survived wars on broken planets. Still, something about this mission made his chest feel tight. This was not a battlefield. This was a cage. 2 armored doors stood at the end of the corridor. Armed guards waited there, faces tense. One of them glanced at Aaron and lowered his voice. "You're the new protector." Aaron nodded. The guard hesitated. "She talks." Aaron raised an eyebrow. "They all do." The guard shook his head. "Not like this one." The doors opened with a deep mechanical groan. Inside the room, the temperature was colder. Blue light reflected off smooth walls made from alien alloy. In the center of the chamber sat the prisoner. She was not what Aaron expected. She was tall but slender, sitting calmly on a low platform. Her skin was a soft shade of pale blue, almost glowing under the lights. Thin silver markings ran along her face and neck, pulsing faintly like a heartbeat. Her hands were bound by glowing energy restraints, yet she did not struggle. She looked peaceful. Then she lifted her head. Her eyes were silver, deep, and full of something Aaron could not name. Surprise, maybe. Or relief. Her lips parted. Aaron. The sound of his name hit him harder than any bullet. His grip tightened on his rifle. His breath caught in his throat. "No," he said sharply. "That's not possible." No one had told her his name. The file did not list it. He had never seen her before in his life. Yet she smiled, soft and gentle, as if she had been waiting for this moment. "You came," she said quietly. Aaron stepped back, pulse racing. "How do you know my name?" She tilted her head, studying him the way a doctor studies a patient. "Because you were always meant to be here." His training screamed at him to shut her down, to call command, to end the conversation. Instead, his feet stayed where they were. "You are a prisoner," he said. "You don't know anything about me." Her smile faded, replaced by something sad. "That is what they told you." Silence filled the room. Aaron forced himself to breathe. He reminded himself of the warnings. She manipulates through speech. Do not engage emotionally. "I am Sergeant Aaron Cole," he said coldly. "I'm assigned to protect you until transfer." "That's it." She nodded slowly. "Then protect me," she said. "Please." Something in her voice cracked. Aaron turned away, facing the wall, pretending to check his equipment. He didn't trust his face. He didn't trust the strange ache in his chest. Minutes passed. Then hours. She did not scream. She did not threaten. She did not beg. She simply spoke. "My name is Saleth," she said gently. "I was sent as a voice, not a weapon." Aaron said nothing. "I came to your world to stop what is coming," she continued. "But fear speaks louder than truth." He clenched his jaw. "They say you are dangerous," he said finally. She looked down at her bound hands. "So are storms. So are fires. Yet without them, worlds die." Her words stayed with him. When the shift ended, Aaron didn't leave right away. He stood there longer than required, watching the soft glow of the markings on her skin. As he turned to go, she spoke again. "You have stood alone before," she said. "You will do it again. But this time, you are not alone." Aaron paused at the door, for the first time in years. He felt something he had buried deep inside. Himself, not fear, not anger, hope, and that scared him more than anything else. The next morning, Aaron returned to the cell before dawn. The base was silent, the corridors empty except for the soft hum of machinery. Guards patrolled nearby, but they kept their distance from him as if sensing that this assignment was unlike any other. Salith sat in the same position, hands resting on her lap. Her silver eyes followed him as he entered, calm and unreadable. Aaron could not stop himself from noticing how fragile she looked, yet how impossible it was to feel fear radiating from her. There was something about her that made him cautious, even nervous. "You were here early," she said softly. "I have a schedule," he replied, though he did not sound convinced even to himself. He kept his eyes on her hands, the energy cuffs glowing faintly. "Don't move." "I won't," she said. "But you will need to know me soon." Aaron froze at her words. There was no menace, no threatening certainty. He wanted to ask what she meant, but the memory of the warnings echoed in his mind. She manipulates through speech. Do not engage emotionally. Instead, he checked the restraints and the door locks, running through every protocol he had memorized. Yet, every time he glanced back at her, the feeling in his chest tightened. "You speak my name again," he said finally, unable to hide the suspicion in his voice. "Yes," she said quietly. "I have known it for a long time." "You're lying," he snapped. "No one knows my name. Not even Command." She tilted her head, her eyes searching his. "I do not lie." Aaron wanted to take a step back. He wanted to remind himself that this was a prisoner, a being captured because she was dangerous. Yet her calm, almost human-like presence drew him in. "I don't understand," he muttered. "Why me? Why now?" Salith smiled faintly, almost sadly. "Because you always stand between danger and others. You always hesitate for the sake of someone else. You do not choose for yourself, yet the universe has chosen you for this moment." Aaron's heart skipped. No one had ever spoken to him like that. Not a friend, not a lover, not even a superior officer. It felt personal, too personal. "Stop," he said, his voice low, trying to regain control. "Stop speaking like you know me. You are a prisoner, and I am a soldier. That's all." She looked at him, her glowing markings flickering faintly. "I only speak the truth, and the truth is, I have waited to meet you." Aaron's jaw tightened. He wanted to walk away, to return to the safety of protocol and regulations. Yet his boots did not move. His eyes stayed on hers, searching for a flaw, a trick, a lie. There was none. Only honesty, only certainty. "Why?" he whispered, almost to himself. "Why would an alien know me?" She leaned forward slightly. "Because your actions echo across the stars. I have watched. I have waited. You were always meant to be the one to hear me, to understand what is coming." Aaron's mind spun. He wanted to call command, to demand answers, but he did not. Something in her voice, something in the way she looked at him, stopped him. It was not just that she spoke his name, it was that she knew him, as if she had always known him. For hours, he sat outside her cell, watching, listening. She told stories not of war, not of her capture, but of the stars, of civilizations rising and falling, of worlds that had survived because someone stood first when others could not, and humans. He asked after a long pause. What do humans do? They doubt, she said. They fail. But when it matters most, they stand. And sometimes they stand alone. That is why I am here. That is why I called your name. Eren wanted to argue, wanted to deny the pull he felt. But each time she spoke, he felt himself opening, feeling the weight of a universe he had never understood, pressing gently on his chest. He was not a hero. He had never wanted to be. Yet her words made him feel like he already was. By the time the second day ended, he had spoken a single word to her. Why? She smiled softly. Because the one who stands first is remembered. And because I knew you would. Eren left the cell that night, walking through the empty corridors, the words echoing in his mind. He did not understand what had happened or how it was possible, but he could not shake the feeling that his life had changed in a single hour, somewhere. Deep inside, he knew he would never see her the same way again. And that scared him more than any enemy he had ever faced. The night was darker than usual, even for the underground base. Red emergency lights flickered intermittently, casting long shadows that seemed to move on their own. Sergeant Eren Cole sat in his chair outside Salith's cell, rifle across his lap, eyes never leaving her. He had slept little, but exhaustion had nothing on the unease crawling through his veins. You feel it too, don't you? Salith's voice broke the silence. Her silver eyes glowed faintly in the dim light. Eren straightened. Feel what? He asked, though his gut already knew the answer. The danger, she said quietly. It is coming. Faster than you think. He frowned. Explain. She shook her head, slow and deliberate. I cannot give details. Not yet. Only warnings. You must listen. Trust yourself. Trust what you will see. Eren's mind spun. He had spent years protecting people, anticipating threats. Yet nothing prepared him for this feeling. An invisible weight pressing down from the stars themselves. The alarms screamed suddenly, cutting through the base like jagged lightning. Red lights turned bright, the hum of machinery changing into a mechanical roar. Guards ran, shouting orders. Sirens blared through corridors. What is happening? Eren shouted, leaping to his feet. They are coming, Salith said. Calm, precise, certain. Eren's pulse raced. Who? What? She pointed toward the sky above the base, her hands trembling slightly. The ones who consume worlds. The reason I came here. Eren felt the air thicken, the walls trembling under some distant, invisible weight. He ran to the nearest monitor. The screen showed massive ships beyond the moon, black and impossibly large. Shadows passed across the surface of Earth. A slow eclipse of Doom. Command crackled over the intercom. Orders, evacuations, nuclear strikes debated like chess moves. Fear was everywhere. Eren looked at Salith. Her calmness made the hairs on the back of his neck stand. You said you came to stop this, he said. Yes, she replied softly. But they imprisoned me. Your people feared what they did not understand. And now it is almost too late. Eren's hands clenched the railing. Then what do we do? Tell me. I'll do anything. You must trust me, she said. And you must trust yourself. The path is dangerous. You may not survive. But your choice will matter. He felt anger rising, boiling over. I am tired of choices, tired of waiting while others make decisions for me. I guard, I obey, I follow orders. And now I'm supposed to. What? Risk everything for a prisoner. Salith's gaze did not waver. You have always risked everything for others. That is why you are here. That is why I spoke your name. Erin's chest tightened. Her words were a mirror, reflecting a truth he had buried for years. Every time he had stood alone in the face of danger, every time he had chosen pain instead of inaction, he had been searching for something. Perhaps it was purpose. Perhaps it was hope. The base shook violently as distant explosions rattled through the corridors. Aaron grabbed his rifle, not because it would help, but because he needed something solid in the chaos. They're not stopping, he muttered. They'll reach Earth before anyone is ready. Salith placed a hand against the wall. Energy pulsed faintly from her fingers. We have one chance, she said. One moment to act. One moment to stand together. Erin's throat tightened. And if we fail? She looked at him, eyes wide with a strange, alien grief. Then everything dies. The stars, the worlds, the lives you care about. And I will have failed too. He swallowed. The weight of the moment pressed down like gravity. Every instinct in his body screamed to flee, to hide, to obey orders. Yet the pull toward her, toward the mission, toward the impossible hope she offered, rooted him in place. I will do it, he said finally, voice rough. Whatever it takes. Salith's eyes softened, just a fraction, almost like a human smile. Good, she said, because fear will come. Confusion will come. Pain will come. But we will act anyway. That is what matters. The lights flickered, casting shadows across their faces. Aaron realized then that the bond between them, strange and sudden, was stronger than any command or protocol. It was trust built in seconds, forged in the knowledge that the universe was larger and stranger than he had ever imagined. Explosions shook the surface again. The first devourer ship's shadow fell across the desert outside. Aaron gritted his teeth. He looked at Salith. Then let's stand, he said. Her silver eyes met his. The glow of her markings brightened, as if responding to his courage. Yes, she whispered. Together, and for the first time, Aaron knew that the night was not just full of danger, was full of purpose. The alarms did not stop. Red lights flashed violently through the corridors, shadows jumping with every flicker. The ground beneath the base trembled, as if the world itself was bracing for impact. Sergeant Aaron Cole felt the vibrations in his boots, in his chest, in every nerve. He was trained for war, for chaos, for moments when lives depended on split-second decisions, but nothing had prepared him for this. Salith rose from her platform, her hands glowing faintly. The energy cuffs that bound her were flickering erratically, like they sensed the approaching danger. She stepped toward Aaron, her silver eyes fixed on him. They are almost here, she said, calm and certain. The devourers will not wait. Aaron's jaw clenched. Then we fight, he said. But the words felt hollow. He had a rifle, and the approaching ships were the size of cities. Bullets would not touch them. Missiles would not matter. He knew it, and yet he could not stop himself from speaking. They will overwhelm us, Salith replied. Not with weapons, but with certainty of destruction. We must move now. Aaron swallowed. He had a choice. Follow protocol. Wait for orders. Let the prisoner remain locked. Or Do what every instinct in his body screamed to do. Protect her. Trust her. Step into the unknown. His hand moved, almost on its own, to the control panel that maintained her restraints. Fingers trembling, he smashed the panel. Sparks flew, circuits fried, and the cuffs fell dead. Salith looked at him, a mix of surprise and gratitude in her eyes. "You should leave," she said softly. "You do not belong here. This is not your fight." Aaron shook his head. "I am here," he said firmly. "I'm not leaving you." A faint pulse of energy rose from Salith's skin. Her markings glowed brighter than he had ever seen. She stepped closer, placing a hand lightly on his shoulder. The touch was electric, yet strangely grounding. "Then we move," she said. They ran through the corridors together, dodging guards who shouted orders and soldiers who aimed weapons in confusion. Aaron did not fire. His focus was her safety. Salith guided him, moving with grace despite the chains that had bound her moments before. Every step brought them closer to the surface and closer to danger beyond imagining. When they reached the final hatch, the world outside was chaos. The night sky had turned red from the fires of orbiting devourer ships. Meteors fell like rain, hitting the desert with deafening explosions. Smoke and dust filled the air, stinging Aaron's eyes. "Is this real?" he whispered, breath ragged. Salith did not answer. She raised her hands toward the stars. The silver lines on her skin flared brilliantly, sending arcs of light into the darkness. Energy rippled outward, forming a protective shield that glimmered faintly in the red sky. Aaron watched, awe and fear twisting inside him. "Your people, your humans," she said quietly, "do not know what is coming. But they will remember one thing. A single human stood first." Aaron's chest tightened. He did not feel heroic. He felt small, insignificant, fragile, yet standing there, beside her, he realized something deeper. Courage was not the absence of fear, it was the choice to act despite it. Suddenly, one of the devourer ships unleashed a beam that tore through the desert. The ground quaked beneath them. Aaron felt the heat on his face. He wanted to throw himself away from it, to run, to hide, but he could not. Not with her standing there, trusting him. Salith grabbed his hand. "Trust yourself," she whispered. "We are not alone." The words sank deep into him. Trust, courage, hope, everything he had ever fought for, everything he had ever believed in, condensed into this moment. Together, they stepped onto the open desert. Aaron knew their chances were almost zero. He knew the weapons in his hands were meaningless. Yet he stood firm, beside her, breathing in the chaos, feeling alive in a way he never had. And then, from the sky, a low hum began, a resonance that shook the earth. Other ships appeared, alien but not hostile, filling the horizon. Salith smiled faintly. "They came," she said, "because someone dared to stand first." Aaron's heart pounded. He did not know if they would survive, if Earth would survive, if he would survive. But he did know one thing. He had chosen to act, to protect, to trust, to stand, and in the infinite sky above. That choice was enough to change everything. The desert stretched endlessly under the red-tinged sky, scarred by fire and falling debris. Sergeant Aaron Cole stood beside Salith, watching the massive shapes of the devourer ships hover above. The ground shook with every movement of the colossal machines, and the air was thick with heat and the metallic temps of destruction. Aaron gripped his rifle, though he knew it could not harm them. Still, it gave him something to hold, something to anchor him in the chaos. Salith raised her hands, and the silver markings on her skin glowed brighter than before. Energy pulsed outward, forming a faint barrier that shimmered against the devouring shadows above. She turned to Aaron. "Do not be afraid," she whispered. "Fear is the weapon they feed on." Aaron swallowed hard. Afraid, yes, terrified. But he had learned already that courage was not the absence of fear, it was standing despite it. "Then we stand," he said, his voice steady, though his heart raced. The devourers descended, massive shadows blotting out the sky. Their weapons glimmered like rivers of black fire. Aaron's legs shook, but he did not move back. He had chosen to protect her. He had chosen to act. And now he had to follow through. "They cannot know the strength of humans," Salith said, her eyes locking on his. "Not yet. Not until they see one who will not yield." Aaron felt a strange calm wash over him. In that moment, the chaos, the fire, the destruction, all of it became smaller than the choice before him. He raised his voice, shouting across the desert, "We are afraid." His words carried in the wind, raw and human. "We will fight anyway. Not because we are strong, not because we are brave, but because someone must stand first." Across the barren landscape, others began to notice. Soldiers from other bases, civilians watching through cameras. Even distant alien allies arrived quietly, drawn by some invisible resonance. Aaron could feel it in the air hope. The devourers paused, sensing the shift. Salith's voice joined his, not spoken but felt. It was a vibration in his chest, a song of light that spread from her body to his very soul. He understood then, the devourers were not used to defiance. Not like this. Not united. Not human. Aaron felt the memories of every battle, every choice, every act of protection he had made in his life rise within him. He had always been a soldier, a guardian, a watcher. Now, all of that mattered in a way he had never imagined. The devourers fired. Beams of black energy tore across the desert. The ground exploded beneath them. Sand and rock flew into the air. Aaron and Salith were knocked to the ground, but they rose together. She extended her hands again, and the light from her markings met the dark beams, forming an invisible shield that slowed the devastation. "We cannot stop them alone," Aaron said, shouting over the roar. "But we will not run." Salith nodded. Her gaze softened as she looked at him. "You have already done more than you realize. Your courage calls them." At that moment, the sky above was filled with dozens of alien ship Salith's allies, responding to a signal only she could send. The devourers hesitated, unsure, their attack wavering. Aaron realized that it was not firepower or technology that held the enemy back. It was choice. The choice of a single human to stand first. He raised his hands, unarmed now, letting the wind whip around him. His voice rang again. "We will not yield. We will not surrender. We fight for everyone who cannot." The devourers paused. The light from Salith flared, connecting to him in a luminous web that spread across the battlefield. Aaron's chest burned with the realization that hope, courage, and trust were stronger than any weapon. The world had shifted because of one human who refused to move back, and in that moment he felt it. Not victory, not yet, but recognition. The universe had noticed him. Earth had noticed him. And somehow Salith had known all along that he would rise. He looked at her, breath ragged, sweat and dust covering his face. Her silver eyes glimmered with pride and something tender, something that went beyond words. "You have stood," she whispered, "and because of that, the rest will follow." Aaron's hands shook, but he did not lower them. Not yet, not until the Devourers left, until the sky cleared, until every being watching knew that humans could stand when no one else would. And for the first time, in the heart of fear and chaos, Aaron felt something he had never felt before: purpose. Real, unshakable purpose. The desert was quiet now. The fires had faded, leaving smoke curling into a sky that was slowly returning to black. Aaron Cole sat on the cracked ground, every muscle aching, blood dripping from shallow cuts, sweat mixing with dust and ash. Around him, the battlefield was a graveyard of shattered machines, burned sand, and twisted metal. The Devourers had retreated, leaving only the echoes of their destruction and the weight of what had almost been lost. Salith knelt beside him, her glowing markings dimmed but still shimmering faintly. She placed a hand on his shoulder. It was a light touch, but it felt heavier than any weapon he had ever carried. Her silver eyes searched his face, full of concern, of sorrow, and of something else Aaron could not name. "You should not be here," she whispered. "You were not meant to take this much." Aaron swallowed. Pain shot through his chest and legs, but he forced a breath. "I was meant to stand," he said, voice low and hoarse. "That's what you said, isn't it?" She nodded, her gaze softening. "Yes, and you did." He wanted to laugh, but it came out as a bitter cough. Every part of him ached, yet he felt alive. Not triumphant, not proud, not a hero, just alive. He had faced death and chosen to stand, and in that moment, it did not matter if he had survived or not. He had done what needed to be done. Salith leaned closer. "Your humans will call you a hero," she said. "But that is not the truth. You were only being yourself. That is why the universe noticed you." Aaron looked at her, trying to focus. "I don't feel like myself. I feel broken." She shook her head. "You are stronger than you think. You carried more than most ever could. And yet, you still cared." He let his head fall back, staring at the sky. Stars twinkled faintly above, distant witnesses to the battle. The silence felt sacred, almost holy. Every heartbeat, every breath was a reminder that he had survived, not by strength alone, but by choice, by courage, by the willingness to protect someone else, even when the odds were impossible. "I almost didn't make it," he whispered. "You did," Salith replied. Her voice broke slightly. "Because you stood first. Because you chose not to run. Because you trusted. Even when trust was dangerous." Aaron shifted slightly, feeling a sharp sting in his side. He ignored it. "And you?" he asked, voice shaking. "You were almost gone too." She smiled faintly, faint sadness in her eyes. "I am here. Because you were. Because your courage called me. Because you proved something no one else could. That humans can choose hope even when death is closer than air." For a long moment, they sat in silence. Aaron's fingers brushed against hers, instinctively, and he felt the faint hum of energy through her skin. It was not just power. It was life. It was connection. It was trust. "I never thought I'd feel anything like this again," Aaron admitted quietly. "After years of fighting, after seeing so much death, I forgot it was possible to feel alive." Salith's silver eyes glimmered. Then remember this. Remember the moment you stood. Remember that choice. That is who you truly are. Not the battles you fought, not the orders you followed, but the man who will stand for others, even when it costs him everything. He let out a shaky laugh. Sounds like a lot for one human. Perhaps, she said softly, but the universe does not ask for more than one human at a time, and you were enough. Aaron closed his eyes, feeling the warmth of her hand against his shoulder, feeling the quiet hum of the desert around them, feeling the weight of survival and purpose settle inside him. For the first time, he allowed himself to simply be. No orders, no fear, no enemy, just this moment, fragile and fleeting. I never thought I'd hear my name like that again, he murmured, like someone really knew me. Salith smiled, leaning closer. Because I have, and because I always will. You are remembered, Aaron Cole. Not by machines, not by stars, not by fate, but by choice, by courage, by being yourself. Aaron let the words sink in, the tears he had held back for years finally slipping. They were not tears of defeat, nor of fear, but of relief, of recognition, of connection. In the heart of chaos, in the shadow of death, he had found something more powerful than survival. He had found purpose, and beside him, Salith waited, steady and unwavering. The first witness to the human who chose to stand when the universe demanded it. The desert had grown quiet. The fires were gone, leaving only smoldering sand and the distant echoes of destruction. Aaron Cole lay on the ground, chest rising and falling, every muscle aching, but alive. Around him, the horizon was slowly clearing. The devourers were gone, retreating into the void, perhaps never to return. And yet, the battle had left its mark not just on the land, but on him. Salith knelt beside him, her silver eyes reflecting the first pale light of dawn. Her markings pulsed faintly, soft and steady now. She reached out and placed a hand on his forehead, feeling the heat of exhaustion and relief. You have survived, she said gently, not because of weapons, not because of chance, because of choice, because of courage, because of humanity. Aaron coughed softly, brushing ash from his uniform. He tried to speak, but words felt heavy. We did it, he managed. I mean, you did it. I just stood. She shook her head, smiling. No, you did more than stand. You were the first. You carried the weight of fear and hope at the same time. That is why the devourers stopped. That is why my people answered. That is why Earth has a chance. He looked at the sky. Alien ships hovered, some familiar, some strange, but all allies now. The humans watching through cameras, satellites, and sensors would never fully understand what had happened, but they would see the aftermath. They would see the courage of one human who chose to act when all seemed lost. They will call me a hero, Aaron said quietly, almost embarrassed. And I'm not sure I deserve that. Salith shook her head again. You are not a hero because you fought. You are a hero because you chose to care. You chose to stand for others, even when survival was uncertain. That is the power humans have. That is why you are remembered. Aaron let out a long breath, finally feeling the weight of the battle leave his shoulders. His body ached, but his spirit felt lighter. He had learned something he could never unlearn, that courage was contagious, that standing first could change the course of worlds, and that humans, despite fear and doubt, could rise when needed most. Salith reached for his hand. Her touch was warm, and it hummed faintly with energy that felt alive. "I spoke your name," she said softly, "because I knew you would answer, because I knew that even a single human could make a difference. Your name is written in the memory of the stars, Aaron Cole. Do not forget it." Aaron stared at her, his chest tightening. "I won't," he whispered. "But why me? Why did you know me?" "Because I have watched," she replied, "and I have learned that when the universe faces despair, humans are